Our next presentation was actually sponsored by the IU Center for International Business Education and Research. Did you know that you can actually receive funding for interns, language and culture modules, along with SMEs? For more information, please check out the IU Cyber Virtual Exhibition booth, which is located in the microsites. So now I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Ambassador Craig Allen, who is the president of the U.S.-China Business Council, to give us an export report on Indiana.
All right. Well, thank you very much. What a pleasure to be here, and what a pleasure to listen to the last panel. A lot of good Midwestern common sense, and I am very grateful to have heard that. What I would like to do for about the next 20 minutes is take a little walk around Indiana and talk about your exports to China. But first, let us take a look at the state as a whole. This data is taken from 2020. This is goods exports from Indiana to China. And as you will see, there was a big leap in 2020 over 2019, nearly a doubling of your exports to China on the goods side. And we'll take a look at services in just a minute. So this is a very strong showing. And I would note that if you were looking for a proximate cause or an individual reason, it would probably be the cumulative effects of the Phase 1 program. Phase 1 had strong inducements on the Chinese to open up their agricultural sector, and Indiana farmers, particularly soybean corn farmers, have taken advantage of that. And in addition, the Phase 1 agreement had strong improvements on intellectual property rights. And you have done your medical device manufacturers and pharmaceutical manufacturers have done well there. In addition to the Phase 1 agreement had specific export targets for agriculture, manufacturing, services, and energy. And so I think that it is a cumulative result of the Phase 1 agreement that your exports from Indiana picked up 1.4 billion to a record in 2020. And I am very confident that 2021 will be yet a better year. So let's look a little bit more at the goods exports. And again, I'll cover services in just a minute. You'll see that China comes in as a very strong number 3, more than the number 4 and the number 5 position put together. So China is by far your largest overseas market in 2020. And when you take a look at the composition of your exports, I'm pretty impressed that you are exporting from a good variety of sources in many different unrelated industries, suggesting to me that this is very sustainable. $1.4 billion of exports in pharmaceuticals, $1.2 billion in oilseeds and grain, medical equipment and supplies coming in very strong, motor vehicle and parts coming in very strong, and resins and synthetic fibers also coming in strong. So to me, this really very clearly reflects Indiana's diversified economy with strength in technology, life sciences, obviously agriculture, obviously machinery, and natural resources. So in my view, Indiana manufacturers and producers have really done a very good job. Let's take a little bit a look at the services sector. And I have to note and perhaps apologize that the data here is only until 2019. Services data is not released for 2 years. But what you'll note here is the first decline in 10 years of Indiana services exports to China. And when we say services exports, we mean many things. And I'll go through it in a second. Most of this is education and travel, but it's also royalties and payments for intellectual property rights. So why in 2019, and I'm sure in 2020, did Indiana services exports to China go down? Well, I think that COVID is by far the biggest determinant here, which had a pretty big impact on education. So my guess is that while we don't yet have the data, that you'll see yet more decline in services exports in 2020 and 2021. And I think that if I were at IU or Purdue or any of the great universities, I'd take a look at this with a little bit of concern. We want Chinese students to continue to come to our campuses, and we want travel to continue. And let us hope that COVID is a temporary phenomenon and we can continue on that very nice upward curve that we had experienced the previous 10 years. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at services exports from Indiana to China, and this is to China in 2019. And as you'll see, education is not quite half of your total exports. Chinese students bring in nearly exactly $333 billion into your university system over the course of the year. I think that this understates, however, China's contributions to your university systems in terms of many of these students are graduate level, many of them in STEM areas, many of them bringing with them not only paying full fee, but also bringing with them a great deal of expertise in their fields, oftentimes returning to China, bringing with them the connections that they made in Indiana to continue collaboration, laboratory to laboratory. Indiana does very well by its students. Chinese students take advantage of that, but at least in my view, they will certainly contribute $333 billion, but much more than that. They contribute their intellectual capital, their experience, their relationships in China, and hopefully those relationships go on for a long period of time. I mentioned that the Phase 1 agreement strengthened intellectual property rights. You'll see royalties from industrial processes, from inventors, entrepreneurs in Indiana in the past brought in $165 million last year. These numbers will probably only go up. I would prefer rapidly, but we'll see. Personal travel and tourism is also a major contributor to your services exports. So let's, final state slide here is all in all, your exports to China produced about 20,000 jobs in 2018. I'm sorry that we don't have 2020 figures, but I think that you could extrapolate from the data and argue that probably the number is about 23, 24,000 jobs in 2020. Now, those are direct jobs, jobs directly associated with exporting to China. If you wish to include indirect jobs, that is derived from these jobs, you could triple this number and you'd be in the ballpark of what the labor contributions of China exports to the Indiana economy. So let's take a quick tour through the state, congressional district by congressional district, and quite uncreatively here, I'm going from District 1 to District 9. Even though my family being from Washington County, we know that District 9 is the most important, but we'll start out with District, the first congressional district. This is Michigan City, Gary and suburbs, Lake and Porter County. And you'll see here that this is, that on the export side, 2020 was a good year, and that it is from the first congressional district that a lot of the basic chemicals come from. I don't think that, I think that this is where within the state that the chemical industry is really most heavily located. Quite a bit on the services side from travel and tourism. So let's go down to the second congressional district. And this is South Bend, Elkhart, and going south from there. No surprise that oilseeds and grains are the largest export item from Indiana's second congressional district. But with medical devices coming in very strong, and motor vehicle parts also coming in strong. No surprises there, I think, to those who know the state. Education is by far and away the largest services export from the second district to China. But with royalties and industrial proceeds coming in second. When one looks at the third congressional district, and this is Fort Wayne and east to Ohio, again, I think it would come to no surprise to most Hoosiers that oilseeds and grains would be very important, but also medical devices, motor vehicle parts, electrical equipment, and navigational and measuring equipment. Education also comes in very strong in the third district. The fourth district is Lafayette and West Lafayette. And so again, to those who know the state, oilseeds and grains clearly will be a large export item to China. Pharmaceuticals also, motor vehicle parts also, very strong growth in exports over the last 3 years from Indiana's fourth district. On the services side, education at $128 million. That's a very good inflow into the fourth district from Chinese academics, students, teachers, and collaborators, probably on various engineering and other types of academic pursuits. So for the fourth district of Indiana, China is a very important trading partner. Let's go down to the 5th district. The 5th district is Marion, Noblesville, Carmel, um, Fishers, Andersonville, and no surprise that pharmaceuticals and medicines would be a large a category of exports from the district, nearly $500 million. So with oilseeds, motor vehicle parts coming in strong after that. So down to the 6th district, and this is Muncie and Richmond. I'd like to note here, it's interesting that, of course, oil seeds and grains are a major export, but we also have engines and turbines coming from the 6th district, and motor vehicle parts, which I think is interesting. Also with medicines and pharmaceuticals making a good showing. But here again, you had almost a doubling of exports over the last 3 years from Indiana's 6th district. From the 7th district, we had more than a doubling of exports, mostly in the pharmaceutical area. Also with basic chemicals coming in strongly behind. I'm not sure exactly what are the compounds that made up this very strong showing. Perhaps some in the audience will know, but I think it's quite remarkable. And I am hopeful anyway that the Phase 1 agreement and the enhanced intellectual property rights between the two governments helps to inform and bring confidence to exporters from Indiana's 7th district. Just 2 more to go. From Indiana's 8th district, no surprise that grain is the largest export item. But again, pharmaceuticals and medicines being strong, resins and synthetic fibers also strong from the 8th district, but also with exports of electric equipment and motor vehicle parts. Strong income derived from royalties from industrial processes into the 8th district as well. So my family is from the 9th district, Washington County. And so I'm happy to note that exports to China from the 9th district were strong in 2020. Pharmaceuticals and medicines, oil seeds, and medical equipment making up the bulk of it. So let me try and summarize. I drove through Indiana over the summer to visit family, drove across the state, and it's, at least from someone now living on the outside, it appears that Indiana is doing reasonably well, that agricultural prices are strong, and that Indiana industry is vibrant. And I would submit to you that at least in part, particularly the strong pricing for corn, soybean, hog, poultry, beef, a lot of that is as a result of the Phase 1 agreement signed by President Trump and Leoha on January 16th of 2020. We are hopeful that this prosperity will continue, but we mustn't take it for granted. The tariffs remain on, and it is not obvious to me anyway that tariff exemptions allowing the import of American agricultural products will continue into the foreseeable future. So we mustn't take this very strong export showing for granted. Bilateral relations are very difficult. Bilateral trade tensions produce a great deal of uncertainty and volatility. And so particularly among the agricultural and the rural community, I just caution that we be careful, not take it for granted, and work hard to maintain the gains of the last 3 years. So Colin, that concludes my formal presentation, but I'm happy to take any questions or comments on what I have presented or anything else.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Allen, for that detailed presentation. While we don't have any formal questions queued up right now from participants, I am kind of curious in terms of your perspective. Do you think there's going to be a phase 2 agreement anytime soon?
So we have heard just last night that Janet Yellen spoke with Vice Premier Liu He, and that they had a good talk. We know that there is a summit meeting scheduled for the end of the year. And I am hopeful that the two negotiating sides will be able to get together to find a way to reduce the tariffs or eliminate the tariffs and get back to more of a sound footing, a more firm foundation for exporters and investors of both sides. But I'm not confident of that. And indeed, I worry that the tariffs might become permanent, and if so, the bilateral relationship between the two sides is going to be distorted, at least for the foreseeable future. So we mustn't take this for granted. And indeed, we need to work hard to try and right the ship. And in my view, that is a responsibility of both governments, not of the US government alone at all. In return for better market access and a more level playing field for on the Chinese side, we would welcome the complete removal of tariffs and a return to a normal relationship. Thank you.